here today will woo the Pakistani advertising fraternity to be a part of the Goa Fest 2013. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Sam Balsara.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. Can you hear me? Can we have this on? Yeah. Okay, so I'm here on behalf of our Goa Fest committee, and I had two jobs to do today. I've only done one of them. The second one, and this is a more pleasant one and a very important one, I'm here to invite all of you to come to India, not just to sort of learn about the NRS, IRS and ABC and all that, but to learn a little bit about creativity, learn a little bit about ideas, and more than that, have a lot of fun. So we are talking about a thing called Goa Fest. This is something done by the Advertising Agencies Association of India and the Advertising Club. This year we pitched it as a carnival of ideas. You know, Goa is known for once a year it has a carnival like the one that's held in Brazil on a much smaller scale. So we are trying to replicate that carnival, but this is not really a carnival of bikini-clad girls dancing, but a carnival of advertising ideas and stuff like that. So this is, we believe, South Asia's biggest and most awaited advertising festival. Now, what makes Goa Fest unique and a must attend for you? It's now in its 8th year. It was started in 2006 and every year it has been growing in numbers. It's a unique venue, Goa, which is by the seaside. Absolutely, the venue is bang by the sea. We have a stellar list of international speakers, and you know, when for the first 2 or 3 years we had to actually request global speakers to come down. Today we have global speakers asking us if we can speak at Goa Fest. So the event has really grown in importance and stature. We have a lot of informative and engaging seminars. There's lots of entertainment, and there are 2 big award functions every night, and 3,000 delegates we expect will participate this year, and the award shows will take a look at about 5,000 entries. That's kind of really huge and gives you a sense of scale of the entire event. And since last year, in order to make the event truly a regional event and not just a local Indian event, we have opened this out to all SAARC countries. And you will see that we are putting our mouth where it matters. And it's not just, I'm here to invite you to make up the numbers, but we've specially created a category in the awards called Best of Rest of South Asia. So we realized that some of the work that you produce may not be able to compete with the Indian work. So we created a separate category, and a Goa Fest award would be a highly coveted award. So your work would stand a chance in winning this award. This will be the 8th edition. It's going to be on the 5th and 6th of April, so it's kind of round the corner. Let me show you some pictures of what to kind of expect at Goa Fest. These are some pictures from last year to give you a sense of the scale and the fun that kind of goes on there. This is the hotel. The unique thing about the event is that it's actually at a hotel which is bang on the beach. So you have the benefit of 5-star comfort, and you also have the benefit of the beach and the benefit of the lawns of the hotel. These are some pictures to give you a feel and flavor. Right in the center is the big seminar hangar where all the seminars are held. There will be at least 12 global speakers of repute who will address these seminars. And the speakers will be from all fields: branding, digital, media, creative, covering all aspects of communication. Last year we had guys like Jonathan Mildenhall, the Global Advertising Strategy and Content Chief of Coca-Cola, Jean-Yves Nouri, the COO of the Publicis Group, Tim Love, Vice Chairman of Omnicom, Steve King, Global CEO of Zenith Optimedia, Jayant Murthy of Intel, and guys like that. You may recognize some of them here. Although this is open and it's by the beach, all the hangars are air conditioned. That's quite a feat you'll recognize to achieve on the seaside. And there are special domes that are set up across the festival venue where all the shortlisted creative work is showcased. So you will see the best of Indian creative work all under one roof. Here you can see people strolling around and watching all the work. And then there are 2 awards nights. There's tons of entertainment. The rain dance has become extremely popular over there, as you can see on the top right hand corner. Lots of young people have a lot of fun there. There's other activities including dancing that goes on till the wee hours of the night, special music performances, bars which are open from 11 in the morning non-stop till midnight. Probably the only seminar where the bar is open virtually 18 hours of the day. Some more shots of the rain dance. And of course, Goa is a terrific place to be in. So besides Goa Fest itself, you know, Goa has exotic beaches. Here's giving you a glimpse of those beaches. Terrific shopping, lots of local shopping of Goa artifacts. Lot of history in Goa, lots of churches and old monuments and stuff like that. Goa is known for its water sports, so there's a lot of excitement on the waters. Beautiful churches, a lot of good food, especially seafood that Goa is known for. Lobsters, crabs, mackerels, whatnot, and you know, we could go on. Now some of the operating details that you need to know. The award shows on April 5th, we'll have the Media Award Show, the Digital and Mobile Award Media Show, and the Design Award Show, and also the Direct Award Show. And on the next day, we have the Abbey Creative Awards, which will cover film, TV, print, radio, outdoor, ambient, and integrated. Now, as I said, we've not just created a separate category, but we also created a highly concessional award entry fee for SAARC countries. There's a category, and when you enter it in that category, the entry fee is only $20, which would mean about 1,000 Indian rupees, whereas actually for the Indian agencies, the fee is something like 5,000 rupees. So there's a 80% reduction in fee for SAARC countries. There's also a special delegate fee the delegate fee for Indians is going to be 13,000 rupees. 13,000 may sound a lot, but not till you know that the delegate fee at Cannes, which offers you much less, is actually 1.5 lakhs. Whereas for you all, we have made it only $50 US. So that would be what, just Indian 2,500 rupees. That again represents a 70 to 80% discount. So it's like virtually going to Cannes. Instead of paying a delegate fee of 1.5 lakhs, you're paying a delegate fee of $50 US. Accommodation is, I guess, not too expensive, comparable to Pakistan standards. You can get a 5-star hotel room for about 7,000 to 10,000 per room per night. We have a travel agent who can help you with all of this. Of course, you have to make your own arrangements for the travel. So, I hope I've been able to give you a fair idea about Goa Fest, and I do look forward to welcoming at least some of you there for this event. We have also distributed some brochures over to you, or we will distribute them. If you need any more information, please write to our 3SY Secretariat, or you can also write to me. I'll be there also at Goa Fest, so it'll be my pleasure to welcome you there and meet you and greet you in beautiful Goa. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sam, for the time. Thank you for the presentation, and I'm sure the Goa Fest this year will see a lot of entries from this side of the world. All right, moving on with our next session. Yesterday, unfortunately, we couldn't finish the regional panel, and we are going to start exactly where we left it off. And I'm going to briefly introduce the topic of the regional panel, and then Tokir here will invite the panelists, and we'll allocate just about 15 minutes is what you allow, Tokir?
Yes.
So about 15 minutes for you to put your point across, because you're esteemed panelists and esteemed guests to this summit, and we would want to hear from you and acknowledge you as well. So as far as the regional panel goes, it's titled For Your Eyes Only, and are regional newspapers better equipped to stave off threats from other media? Tokir, would you like to invite the
Yes, please,
panelists?
may I invite Dr. Jabbar Khattak to come on the stage. Our panelists, Sayyid Fasih Iqbal, publisher and editor, Balochistan Times, Ayaz Badshah, and of course, the moderator, Mitrajit Bhattacharya.
I guess we can do with a round of applause.
Yeah,
What do you say,
please,
Tokir?
and we will connect from yesterday, and our apologies once again, because that was unscheduled that way. The whole program was late, and we had to break off at that point.
Indeed.
Aye, please.
The trumpets are not on cue, control room. Right?
Yeah. Mitrajit, may I request you as the moderator to please connect from where we broke off yesterday and take it forward from there.
Good afternoon, everyone. I don't know how many of you were there yesterday when we kind of had to break off from our session, but we were on a very interesting subject where we were discussing the revenue models of regional newspapers. And we were at that point of time trying to understand how much of revenue do regional papers get from advertising, how much from circulation, and that's where I think we broke off. I would want probably Syed Saab to start from there.
In reply to your question, yesterday I have informed you that the Sindhi media in province of Sindh has a very good domain of circulation and efficacy and influence as well, but it is not being realized and recognized in terms of advertisement revenue by the advertiser. the Sindhi media don't receive, don't get the proper advertisement revenue. But by this practice, I think Sindhi media is not at loser side. It is actually, in fact, the advertisers who are losing because it is their need to reaching the unreached. And where the Sindhi newspapers are being circulated in that area, in that segment of the population, no Urdu English newspaper has so much
Jawad
penetration.
Sahab, if you can just tell what percentage do you get from circulation revenues?
I can say about my organization and our 40%, more than 40%
Is from circulation?
Yeah, to our total revenue.
So you still
Out of
make around 60% from advertising revenues?
60% advertising, but not for that 60% doesn't contain the advertisement from mainstream. We have formulated and fabricated our own model of advertisement revenue. We are getting the advertisement, but not the main or traditional advertisement
Okay.
which
Now,
are
of that 60%, how much are government ads and how much are non-government ads?
Yeah, and I think the 70 we bank on 70% on government advertisement.
Okay. Syed Sahab.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yesterday I was discussing about the non-availability of commercial centers in Balochistan, and I told that to this audience that even Hub Chowki, which is very near to Balochistan, but actually Balochistan starts from Karachi, but it is a greater Karachi industrial state. They advertise in the national papers, and it is a misnomer national. Our papers are also national papers, but only they coined this word to big papers from big cities. They are called national papers. Otherwise, all provincial capitals, they also publish newspapers. They are also treated to be national.
Excuse me. Can you just shut the door, please? Yeah, sorry, please.
So the regional papers of Balochistan are facing in great dismay because of government advertisements. They come from center, and now recently they have changed some policy, and today we have seen that the minister has promised to immediately withdraw that centralized media system. And it was, we recall it in 1964 when Ayub Khan was there. So I don't know what happened to our own society. They have not fought very well there. Otherwise, they could have never imposed those dictatorial policies which were in 1964, and this is now 2013. So unfortunately, it happened, and most of the RAF, dealt with. It is only Balochistan and some papers in rural Sindh. And because yesterday I told that there is ethnic press, means language paper. There is 2-3 languages, Pashto, Balochi, Bravi. A lot of newspapers, they come also, and some magazines. So they have to be protected by the governments, provincial governments and the federal government. Because a lot of advertisements are not for product.
Syed Sahab, we will come back to that. I'm just talking about the revenues now.
The revenue, our newspaper, the local paper, 40%
is circulation.
Circulation, and 60% from the local and federal advertisements.
Okay.
And one thing more I want to tell, so our area is far-flung areas. As yesterday I told, even Gwadar is not reached by Quetta. It is about 1200 and 1400 kilometers away. So we have to reach Karachi, and from Karachi. So the circulation is only tied up and very expensive. If we have to send 20 copies, 30 copies to an area, we have to spend about 100 rupees or 200 rupees by PIA, because means of communication is not by bus, by PIA.
So do you have any subsidized rates from PIA? Do you have any concessional rates
No,
for...
no, not at all. Nowadays not. There is no... Previously, PIA used to give some special concession to the press material. But now they are charging extra. There is no concession rates now.
Okay.
And moreover, one thing you have to see, that we have the largest land route with Afghanistan and Iran. So our my newspaper English, it goes to Kandahar also, but through Chaman, if I could have arrangement of the communication, we could have more exported our newspaper to Afghanistan also.
Okay, I ask sir, if you could just talk about your revenue models, how are you making money as a regional, prominent regional player from Peshawar?
Basically, government is of course our biggest advertiser. We get a local advertisement from classified. We get a lot of advertisement from education sector. We get now we are getting advertisement from real estate. Plus, I think I'm in a privileged position in the sense that we get a lot of corporate and multinational advertisement if they want to focus consumers in frontier. So supposing if Toyota launches a four-wheel car, which is most suitable for the terrain there, so of course they have to advertise with Mashriq. Another point that I wanted to make yesterday was that there was a survey which was conducted recently by an independent source that is based in Washington, and they joined hands with an NGO in Islamabad, and they were focusing on our newspaper and certain other newspapers in the south of Punjab. And they found out regarding Mashriq that our readership is a lot more than both PTV, which is the state-owned television channel, and AVT Khyber, which is a Pashto channel, and it has a complete monopoly because it is the only Pashto language channel in Pakistan. So our readership was a lot more than their viewership. So the point that was made earlier by Ali and Fawad here, so I did not ask them a question, but basically the rating system is so crazy in Pakistan. It is totally based on Karachi. That's why you see a lot of, I would say corny things.
When you talk about rating system, is the television ratings.
Television ratings. And since there's no other yardstick to measure a newspaper's rating system, so that's the reason that we have a very crazy, it's like for example morning shows in Pakistan, they are constantly on about marriages, and they are on about bhoot and ghosts and haunting and stuff like that, because they are catering to that segment of the society which gets some kind of kick out of it. So I don't know whether the HBL wants to perhaps advertise to that segment of society or not, and they are disregarding a genuinely based analysis conducted by an independent organization which says that print media in at least my part of the country is doing so well, and at the same time it is totally based on Karachi, and somewhat Lahore is rolled into it, but that does not speak at all in terms of what the regional newspapers are doing.
Okay, I'll come to the matrix point later on. See, I'll just share some interesting facts from the Indian market. If you talk about the revenue split and the readership split, the English newspapers have only 11% readers and they get 40% revenue. The Hindi newspapers get 35% of readership and they get 30% revenue. So they are almost bridge the gap. They are quite equal. And the other regional language publications have 54% of the readership and they get only 30% of the revenues. Now the question is that this figure was even more skewed towards English newspapers 3 years back, 5 years back, and there's a steady improvement made by the regional newspapers in India because of increasing number of editions, localizing content, increasing production values, and offering the economic development in tier 2, tier 3 cities in India has led to new consumers in those markets. So where do you see regional newspaper space going, and what would you as a publisher want it to unfold in the next few years? So if you can, Jabbar sir, please.
In fact, electronic media, we have listened that we are facing the challenge and threat from growing electronic media. But as far as the Sindhi newspaper and media is concerned, I think there is a blessing for us as well, because electronic media, their news contents and their entries or their breaking news, they cater only the mainstream news. Are the events which are happened in Karachi, Lahore, or Islamabad. And this situation has increased the importance of, it's raised the importance of the local newspaper because of localized content. So the audience who are in search of localized content, they only bank on us. They do us. So that is why we are observing and watching and experience a different sort of phenomenon. We are gaining the circulation in numbers as well as revenue.
So if I can understand, you are talking about an increase of circulation,
Yeah.
for your magazine. Have you invested enough in your marketing teams? Do you have enough marketing power to sell your magazine to advertisers, both national and regional?
Yes, when the mainstream advertiser, they have diverted their attention toward mainstream media only. So we switched our emphasis and concentration, and we have established nucleus even in small cities, our marketing nucleus. And the establishment of these new nucleus or marketing teams.
So largely local.
Yeah, yeah,
Those are all local
yeah,
advertising.
we have received very positive impact.
Yes, I'll come back to you.
I just wanted to add on this point
Sir,
that
sir, 1 minute. Yes.
how it works in Pakistan in terms of advertisement is that the federal government has set a quota, which is perhaps 25% of the overall outlay of advertisement in PID. So that's the share that we get. Although that is not going to the genuine newspapers as everyone was talking about. But the other problem is that there is a major chunk of provincial advertisement, which for example, where I come from, there's 40% of that advertisement going to newspapers that are not based in Peshawar. Okay. However, we do not get any advertisement from, say, Punjab information or from Sindh information, vis-a-vis what they are getting from Frontier. So that is another problem there that we have. But then again, those newspapers are not based in Peshawar. They are like coming out of Peshawar, like they are based in either Islamabad or Lahore or Karachi. So that was another way that regional press in my city or in my province is facing a decline in the advertisement.
Yes, sir.
Actually, there is quite another picture in Balochistan. These channels, because of their offices all situated in Lahore or in Karachi, they don't have less impact. They are only working in the city. And most of the events, they are covered only by city, not in the rural areas. So we have got one edge over this, but these advertising agencies, and recently after the induction of media houses, they don't care about this other areas, outer-station areas. And the only regional press of Balochistan is retard, because it is quite separate. Quetta is not accessible by road, even 12 hours or 14 hours. So you can get only one flight, and it is sometimes it is cancelled or not. So we have got an edge over electronic media, but still we don't get any, because the media houses are all in Karachi, and they don't have, except one agency. Yesterday I said Orient was the only agency which has got 4 station offices all over Pakistan. So the matter is, now we have got a very able man, chairman of the regional committee. We have got in APNS, actually we have not done it. Now this is the time, we will convene regional committee and will fight out with the APNS people, because we are all members of the executive, and we want APNS should help us out and bail out from that.
Right.
And this is their job,
Right.
our professional body. They should look after they should have a joint meeting with the advertisers and even that media houses. After the induction of media houses, the floating rates have been there. Because sometimes our market people are in Karachi. So sometimes they say you can publish it on this particular amount because such and such paper has also reduced. This is a very unethical practice of the media houses and advertising agencies. So we have protested it. But now this is the time that APNS should come and just
represent the cause of
and our
regional
committee,
papers.
Mr. Tahir is very much there. He is the chairman of the committee. He should also convene immediately a regional committee. We are all represented there.
I think Ayaz would want to
Yeah,
make
just little comment that I wanted to make. I will speak out of my own experience. It's just not a question of how to generate more revenues or how to make more money. Currently, in my part, in KPK for sure, this is a question of our newspaper survival. We have a huge issue with the law and order situation there. As the security problems are so bad that although you would be generating like millions and millions in terms of your advertisement, but if supposing some stray bomb, if that is exploded in your premises, where would you go? I just wanted to share it with you that in last, say 5-6 years, we have lost more than 30 journalists to this menace and 4 or 5 from my team. So this is one issue that we have.
So what kind of support? Actually, the minister was here today and he actually gave a picture that how can the state support each journalist with people. So what are your quick recommendations? What are you seeking from the government?
I don't think we should be relying on the government that much. We should be, like for example, my organization should stand on its feet and they should take care of their own people. Why should we always go to the government for such issues?
So you are saying it's a issue which should be self-addressed by the industry.
Plus they are your correspondents and they are your people. You should own them just a little bit.
Okay, just one line, one word answer. If we have readership survey in Pakistan, will it help the regional papers? Yes or no?
But if readership survey are conducted in genuine way, because in rural areas, our newspaper which are sold, they have proportionally larger number of readers.
No, so will it, if you have a fair readership survey, will it help regional papers?
Yes.
Said sir.
Very good because actually what we wanted that APNS should evolve a independent private agency. They should hear because there are some companies which they highly charge and they manipulate.
No, assuming you will have a Sam had offered.
But one thing that is quite different, as my friend has said, in my promise, although law and order is not good as that, but there are certain pockets. We have got multi-ethnic, multi-racial people because our papers are reaches to the corner of the province. So, but I am, talking about the advertising agencies and media houses. Why they don't come to Quetta? And that's why I will
that's another point. I'm saying if you do a survey, will it help?
They don't pay. It used to pay in 60s, 70s, 80s, all multinational and apart from that even government institutions, they don't advertise for products, for image level, just PIA, like National Bank. There are other institutions which are basically to promote harmony among the integration. So this is very important for federal government and provincial government to have this.
Just one word. If you have readership survey in Pakistan, will it help the regional papers?
Definitely.
I think on that positive note, I would like to end the session here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mitrajit. We'd like to acknowledge your panelists here. Tokir.
Yeah, may I invite Mujib Lodi, editor and publisher, Pakistan News, to please come up on the stage and present to Dr. Jabbar Khattak. May I also invite Mr. Munir Jilani, publisher Paigam, to please come on the stage. May I request Mitraji to please present to Ayaz Badsha.
Very alarming indeed to know losing 30 journalists in 1 year. So the regional media here for sure is battling way much more
Yeah.
issues than back home in India.
मुमताज ताहिर साहब आप अगर तशरीफ लाएं और
Thank you all so much.
अयाज
And
बादशाह साहब को
okay.
Why is stealing my moment?
I know they haven't yet.
मुमताज ताहिर साहब प्लीज आप प्रेजेंट करें अयाज बादशाह साहब प्लीज.
I asked for it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
Mitraji.
indeed. Moving on to the next session. It's titled Live and Let Die, the popular James Bond movie. It's an Ipsos presentation by Mr. Abdul Sattar Babar. I'd request him to come on stage, Mr. Babar. Mr. Babar is the MD Ipsos Pakistan. He brings together around 16,000 employees in 84 countries. Ipsos is now world's third largest research company. And Mr. Abdul Sattar Babar is an experienced strategic marketing and business intelligence specialist who has worked in senior local and regional roles. Welcome.
Please.
Can you check? Okay, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. By the time this is connected, if you can just help me, is it connected? I must, thank the two sessions taken place here, the discussions, panel discussions, which have actually helped me pave my path to how do I make understand people about the leadership survey, because there's a lot of debate already happened about in the absence of the data and how we can work in the absence of any metrics about the leadership in Pakistan. And I'm going to share some of the numbers, but before the whole proceedings so far, since yesterday morning, we have seen what are the myths had been there about the leadership, across the world, how the digital is killing and everything. So I'll just share. Can you just confirm? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, the National Leadership Survey, Live and Let Die, and I would comment on the title towards the end of my presentation. What had been told that these are now dead. The digital has come and it's gonna take away all the media touch points. I think we need to be careful. It's not dead. It's just evolving. Things have been happening since last many centuries. I mean, yesterday some speaker told that what happened in the 18th century, the 19th century, and so on and so forth. But has any of the media touch point has died? I mean, to the extent that despite the advent of all the clock alarms and the mobile phone alarms, everything, still in some of the streets of Pakistan and across South Asia, in the month of Ramadan, there are people who still keep and coming you to wake up for the sahri. So the media touch points, they are not, they just evolve. So what is happening, how the digital is killing or not killing? I think it's all about that we have multiple options. We have many options available, and how different media touch points, they are making their own inroads, and how they are adapting to the new challenges. This is what it all means. And if we see the TV channels, they are growing. Yesterday and today we have seen the time spent around TV has gone up, and the penetration of TV ownership is not the only criteria whereby you can see that if it is being watched or not. There are many places, like you can see here, that TV is not watched at their own places, but rather is watched in the public places as well. Film industry, it was told that it is it was all the video cassettes and the DVDs which used to sell and everything, and now with the pirated version available on the net, did the film industry really collapse? No, it is not the case. It's still Hollywoods and Bollywoods, they are making much more money. And what about the music industry? Now with one click, you can actually listen to any of the song in the world. But did that actually perish all the singers? No, they are making more money. The music industry they have found how to actually connect and make themselves relevant to their target audience. And the good news is that the print media has also not gone away. It is actually on the rise. And whatever the estimates have been told, they have been talked about a lot. It is not the case that it is diminishing. It is actually rising. If you just look at the very latest results published by the World Organization of Newspapers, World Association of Newspapers, they have confirmed that it has actually increased, and that very little 1.1% is the outcome after the offsetting the huge declines in the US and some other developed markets. And you can see that in the Asia across, despite a decline in Japan, it has actually gone up. And I can see in the Middle East and North Africa, whereby the Arab Spring, which was told, is the outcome of maybe the digital explosion and the Twitter-based social media. The readership has actually gone up. And what has been told that all the newspapers now, they have their websites, and people, they read their newspaper and the articles online. Yes, they do, but in comparison to the total, how many they are so far? So out of the adult population, half of the population is still being reached through newspaper. Yes, there are 600 million people who click and they read any content of the newspaper online, but 500 of them, which has been released, the latest information by WAN, they also touch the paper version, the print version. And this leaves us to only 100 million people who are actually just looking at the online part. And you can compute the percentage out of the 2.5 billion adults which they are access to read papers. And the circulations, yes, they are up. The only decline which has been observed over the last 5-6 years is actually in the free circulation, the free paper. Yes, there is some decline. Okay, it used to be the 8% of the total, but now it has reduced to about 7%. Yes, there is a 1% decline in the free newspaper share. And if you look at the top 10 markets in terms of circulation of the newspapers, topped by China, followed by India, Japan, USA. If you just look at the top 10, you can see that what is the decline and what is the actual growth of the newspaper circulations. And if we average them out for only for the top 10, you can see there is a plus 10%. The news, what we get, I mean, is on its slide, it's perhaps not true. And very well said by the CEO of the Van Infra, Mr. Rees, that it's actually rising in the east, yes, setting in the west. But we are fortunate to be on the right side of the earth. Now, coming back to, I mean, we have listened to many success stories what are happening in India and also in Sri Lanka. We have a very good case studies over there. And I checked with some of my friends in Bangladesh, and the report is that they are also facing something very positive trend in the readership. So what's happening in Pakistan? And now I would especially request my colleagues and friends from the media print industry that the numbers I'm going to show and share with you, they are nothing to do with circulation. They are the numbers which relate to share of mind. What the consumers and the normal people, they can recall from their memory that what do they read and what, I mean, we do not cross-check if they have actually seen or not seen, but what they have claimed. So this is putting together all the quality, checks in the scene which are set by ESOMAR, the Global Organization of Marketing Research and Social Surveys, and the other, international standards. What we have found, these would be the numbers. So that needs to be really kept in view, that these are the numbers which are nothing to do with circulation. And I'm glad to report that the Consumer Multimedia Index, which was endorsed by Pakistan Advertising Society about 5 years back, and very fortunately, I mean, all the three panelists which were sitting in the morning here in the discussion, Mr. Ali Mustansar, Fawad, Rehan Merchant, and Sarma Saab, they are the supporter of that cross-media single source, information. And since 2009, we have been doing it with a 1 year lapse only. We have been doing it continuously. And that is actually the most robust study, which does not only look at on the readership or only on the TV viewership. What we believe and what the industry had thought, that, I mean, since all these multimedia touch points, they are intermingling. Newspapers are no longer news or paper. Remember, television is no longer only the television as in literal meanings. The paper has gone, and the television sets are replaced by your palm tops, your iPods, and your computer screen. So everything has changed, has lost its meaning. So we need to have something which is a multimedia and from the single source, so that all the numbers, they are comparable. They are actually, we can actually work out what Rehan was mentioning, the return on investment. That if you got $100,000 and we need to divide into different channels, different media, where to put the money? So this has to be a multimedia. And this is a good news that, and the top line information of this project is available for the delegates of this summit. I mean, some of my colleagues, they have limited copies of that survey with you, with them, and if you want, you can contact them. And here, before proceeding, let's be very, very careful that averaging out everything and looking at the top on the overall numbers might not make sense for many important strategic and tactical decision processes. You need to get into, you need to really roll up your sleeves and find out what is happening in the details. Sometimes the devils are found in details, and even the good Jannah and the heavens are also found in the details. So we need to get into the details. Now, looking at across Pakistan, as per the 2012 survey what we had conducted, and yesterday we were guessing what is the penetration of internet in Pakistan. So let me tell you, it is not even double digits. Still in Pakistan, it's about 9%. It's hard to actually admit and confess that we are not that online community as in Pakistan, as some of the developed markets. But this is 9% versus 80% of TV, and in between sits the newspaper. We do have the information, you can see that, about the other touch points like outdoor and word of mouth and radio, everything we have. For the sake of simplicity, I have just kept only 3 mediums here. But this is the information about the overall. Now, let me tell you that, I mean, any of your advertisers, especially from the non-government, do you believe that it would be just giving you any advertisements on the umbrella basis or on the overall basis? Of course, all the commercial as well as some of the social establishments, they would like to get into their target segments of the target groups. They would like to reach to the right audience. And to that matter, for example, we are interested to reach only the educated people. What is the weekly? The previous chart was showing the overall reach. Here I am talking about the weekly cross-media penetration by education. And what you can see here, that yes, in the TV, the highly educated people, they get a hype. They get much better exposed to TV. But the jump is phenomenal in terms of readership, which is in line with our intuition that as we are able to develop our literacy rate, we can expect a rise for the readership. And the good news, I mean, I can share with you, young nation, even in the South Asia, we are the most youngest nation. The way literacy is being, is getting a momentum due to the, very private schools and everything, the literacy in the younger lot is much, much higher than our older generation. So we can expect there would be, a positive surge in for the literate people. It also goes very high to 15%. Okay, now coming to the people who have some money in their hand. If we set aside the people who are earning and the people and the audience who are not earning, who are actually have some money in their pockets, you can see there is a big drop in the TV viewership, in the newspaper. And you can see that the 2.5 and 2.8 in the internet is because of the students who are not earning, but still they are online. And how about if we are focused in the urban Pakistan only, and we are at some of the products and some of our advertisers, they are just want to read and they just want to reach the urban people of Pakistan. You can see that the weekly reach is 76 versus 17%. But the moment we go back to the same audience, selected audience or target groups, okay, it goes to 36%. And if we look at the earning versus non-earning, it is huge. It's 24%. And if I share with you that if we are interested only in the well-literate as well as people with the money in their pockets, the actual weekly reach of newspapers is 45%. All these numbers which I am sharing with you is just to give you the example, and I can share with the, well, our friend mentioned there that what is happening in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. If we just drill down the numbers for the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Mashriq, you would be seeing at the top. You would be seeing at the top the same number. And from the interior Sindh, the moment you click for the Sindh, you will see how the Sindhi newspapers, they are really rising from the same number. So it is all, how you actually interpret the data and sell it to your target advertisers. Now, so what is the problem? As I mentioned earlier, that some of our presenters and participants of panels, they have already talked about that. What is the real problem? My problem is what I have interacted with many of the industry colleagues in person meetings as well as on different forums, that they don't pose those questions as an industry, and if they don't get to, they are not interested to see the answers as well. And if I tell you what are these questions, the first question is that when they ask their sales team, go out, okay, and get the advertisement, other than the rate card and some of the disputed and so many, confused circulation, what else we provide, how we equip our sales people, that why the advertisers should give money to them. So other than rate card, what else we provide to them? Okay. My next is that what content, it has been talked a lot, what content people are expecting from the newspapers. Okay. In the last 3 decades since I have been reading newspaper, the only major development I can see is the computer composing, which has actually changed the way things are done. But what else has done? What else has been actually introduced to the audience? And when did they last check what with their audience and the readers, that what do they expect from the newspapers? What kind of stories, what kind of editorial, what kind of information that they are expecting from the newspapers? And the third very, very important question, okay, how many of the players or industry itself, they have actually posed the questions that what is my real USP? I cannot be journalist. I cannot be journalist as one of the players. I have to be claiming something, some USP. Okay, the USP could be, am I bigger? The reach argument will help you. But tell me that how many of players can actually claim? There would be only one slot for the top position, be it on the national level, be it on the regional level, be it on the linguistic terms. It would be only one slot. So only there would be 4 or 5 players who can make the claim, I'm the biggest. So what else is the options available for the other titles? Okay, they can say, I'm very focused. Okay, our friends from KPK, they can they can claim very clearly. Okay, if you want to touch the audience who are Pashto speaking, I am the person to deal with. I am the title who can deal with. If you are interested to touch my Sindhi speaking population, okay, come to me. I'll make you how to make it work. Okay, it's the selectivity, and then better value for money, cost per target. Okay, I am very journalist, example, a newspaper. I'm very journalist. I'm read everywhere, but the cost per 1,000 is very minimal for me. Come to me, I will help you. Okay, and there might be still some nostalgic and maybe some very good. I can say very. I'm a very profound admirer of Nawai Waqt, for example. Okay, they are holding on to some of their ideology orientation, and despite what is happening, they are holding on to their position, and they can claim, okay, I have a special reason why to come to me, and there are people, and we need to make it quantifiable. It should be quantified. So this is the three question. So if these are the three questions, what is the answer? Very simple answer. Go just back to basics. Okay? Know your competition, know your customer. And I think enough has been already said that when did we last check about the product itself, what we are selling, okay, and the price what we are charging in Pakistan, if you convert in Indian rupees, you will see how much extra charging the it is in Pakistan. Is it the right thing to do? Yesterday, when the question was posed to Mr. Agrawal, that what if the price of the Times of India is from 5 rupees to if made 15 rupees, can you still expect the same growth? No, he said very clearly. So what is the right pricing? I mean, if the Pepsi Colas and the Lux and the Mobilings of this country, whenever they want to do anything to do with the pricing, they check with the consumers first, and then they talk about what would be the changes to their market shares. So what we have done to understand what is the right price for this and what is the placement. I mean, the same traditional way of dropping newspapers by hawkers in our household and places, and some of the sporadic presence of the hawkers in different location of the cities, is it the only way of reaching to the right audience? Can we do something about more? And then the different additions and the promotion. I would say, I mean, if you pick any of the titles which is sitting here in our tables, you will see that the same group, electronic media advertisement, you will find a lot of advertisement of their electronic programs on the newspaper. Is it vice versa available happening in the industry? So how many TV channels they are showing junk? How many TV channels, I mean, how Geo is showing the news? And what, I mean, how, different, the reader, this is only about the type of promotion. But how about the positioning itself? What brands we need to produce? Okay, what should be the brand image we want to foster? So these are the questions. Answers are with you. That once you decide, only then we can move forward. And my last question, and the last, I talked about initially, that it's not the let live or die. It's innovate or die. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Babar. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for the presentation. And I request Mr. Raza Murad to come up on stage and acknowledge Mr. Babar. Mr. Raza Murad is a known face in the Indian film industry, and he's taken time to be here as part of the South Asia Media Summit. Welcome, Mr. Murad. और of course अपने acknowledge करके Thank you, Mr. Babar. Thank you so much. और आपको हम ऐसे नहीं जाने देंगे, आप ज़रा आवाज़ से कुछ हमको एंटरटेन करें, क्योंकि आपकी आवाज़ ही है जो प्रोसीड करती है हर जगह, आई गेस.
ख़वातीनो हज़रात, अस्सलाम वालेकुम. सबसे पहले मैं शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहूँगा जो मुझे मदऊ किया गया, जो इस सरजमीन पर हमें प्यार मिला, हमें आप सबकी शफकत मिली, खुलूस मिला, उसे बयान करने के लिए अल्फाज हकीर हैं. इतना ही कहूंगा, एक ख्वाब था, एक सुनहरा ख्वाब था सरजमीन पाकिस्तान पर आने का, और वो ख्वाब सच्चाई में तब्दील हो गया. तो मैं ये कहूंगा कि बरसों से इंतजार था, आज दीद हो गई. बरसों से इंतजार था, आज दीद हो गई, बस यूं समझिए आज मेरी ईद हो गई। आज यहां आकर ऐसा महसूस हो रहा है, बहुत ही खूबसूरत ऑडिटोरियम बना है, का नाम है पाक चाइना फ्रेंडशिप सेंटर। मैं चाहता हूं कि इसके बराबर में एक और ऑडिटोरियम बने जिसका नाम हो पाक इंडिया फ्रेंडशिप सेंटर। मेरे ख्याल से ये मेरी खुशकिस्मती है कि आज मुझे यहां से अपनी बात कहने का मौका मिल रहा है और शायद मैं वाहिद हिंदुस्तानी अदाकार हूं जो आज इस्लामाबाद के प्लेटफॉर्म से बोल रहा है। हमें आजादी मिले और एक दूसरे से बिछड़े हुए 66 साल हो गए, यानी 2/3 of a century. There is a saying in English कि it's strange how people find time to hate when the life is too short for love. मैं चाहता हूं दोनों ममालिक के बीच में हमेशा दोस्ताना माहौल बना रहे, एक दूसरे के और करीब आएं। हो सकता है कि हमारा हाल एक दूसरे से अलग है, हो सकता है कि हमारा मुस्तकबिल एक दूसरे से अलग हो, लेकिन जो हमारा माजी है वो तो एक ही है, वो तो अलग हो ही नहीं सकता। और माजी की भी उतनी ही अहमियत होती है जितनी की हाल और मुस्तकबिल की होती है। हमारा माजी एक दूसरे से अलग नहीं हो सकता, हमारी सरहदें भी एक दूसरे से अलग नहीं हो सकती। हम हमसाए हैं और यही कोशिश रहनी चाहिए कि एक दूसरे के साथ प्यार से, खुलूस से, भाईचारगी से रहें। यही पैगाम मैं लेकर आया हूं, यही पैगाम हूं। एक बात और कहूंगा कि आपकी मेहमान नवाजी ने, आपके खुलूस ने, आपकी गर्मजोशी ने मुझे खरीद लिया। जब तक बिका ना था तो कोई पूछता ना था, जब तक बिका ना था तो कोई पूछता ना था, तुमने खरीद कर मुझे अनमोल कर दिया। एक नज्म आपकी नजर करना चाहूंगा, अगर आप सुनना चाहें तो। देखिए, फनकार मां के पेट से पैदा नहीं होता, फनकार को फनकार बनाती है अवाम, अवाम का प्यार, तभी वो फनकार बनता है। आज आपके मुल्क को बहुत करीब से देखने का मौका मिला। मैं यहां की गलियों में गया, मैं कराची की गलियों में गया, मैं वाकई दम बखुद रह गया जो मुझे एक आम आदमी से यहां प्यार मिला। तो उसकी नजर में ये नज्म करना चाहता हूं आप सबकी नजर, कि आप क्या जाने मुझको समझते हैं क्या, आप क्या जाने मुझको समझते हैं क्या, मैं तो कुछ भी नहीं, इस कदर प्यार इतनी बड़ी भीड़ का मैं रखूंगा कहां, इस कदर प्यार रखने के काबिल नहीं। मुझको इतनी मोहब्बत ना दो दोस्तों, मुझको इतनी मोहब्बत ना दो दोस्तों, सोच लो दोस्तों, इस कदर प्यार कैसे संभालूंगा मैं तो कुछ भी नहीं। प्यार, प्यार अगर एक शख्स का भी मिल जाए तो बड़ी चीज है जिंदगी के लिए। प्यार अगर एक शख्स का भी मिल जाए तो बड़ी चीज है जिंदगी के लिए। आदमी को यह भी मगर मिलता नहीं, ये भी मिलता नहीं। मुझको इतनी मोहब्बत मिली आपसे, मुझको इतनी मोहब्बत मिली आपसे, ये मेरा हक नहीं मेरी तकदीर है। मैं जमाने की नजरों में कुछ भी ना था, मैं जमाने की नजरों में कुछ भी ना था, मेरी आंखों में अब भी वो तस्वीर है, इस मोहब्बत के बदले में क्या नजर करूं, मैं तो कुछ भी नहीं। इज्जतें, चाहतें, शोहरतें, उल्फतें, इज्जतें, चाहतें, शोहरतें, उल्फतें, कोई भी चीज दुनिया में रहती नहीं। आज मैं हूं जहां कल कोई और था, आज मैं हूं जहां कल कोई और था। ये भी एक दौर है, वो भी एक दौर था। आज आज इतनी मोहब्बत ना दो दोस्तों, आज इतनी मोहब्बत ना दो दोस्तों कि मेरे कल की खातिर कुछ ना बचे। आज का प्यार थोड़ा बचा कर रखो मेरे कल के लिए, आज का प्यार थोड़ा बचा कर रखो मेरे कल के लिए। कल जो गुमनाम है, कल जो वीरान है, मैं तो कुछ भी नहीं, मैं तो कुछ भी नहीं। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
बहुत शुक्रिया रजा मुराद साहब, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you very much for taking the time, for being here with us. And well, we're moving on to the next panel discussion, and it is extremely an interesting one also because Tawqir and I are both jointly moderating this. And it's titled Diamonds Are Forever. It deals with the existential woes of any publication relating to their editorial policies and the business. Told you this will be interesting. Tawqir?
Yes, and we've got a very interesting mix of panelists here. We've got Mr. Arif Nizami, who's got a career in journalism for over 4 decades. Everyone knows him, and he's been elected the president of the CPNE for 4 terms, Council of Pakistan Newspaper Editors. And also, he's been elected as president of the APNS a few times. Presently, he also hosts a show on a TV channel, and he's editor of Pakistan Today. Mr. Arif Nizami. Please, sir. We've got Amir Zia, who's a young editor, has almost a career spanning over 20 years, and he writes articles mainly on issues relating to politics, extremism, and macroeconomy. Currently, Amir Zia is associated with one of Pakistan's leading English language newspapers, The News, Karachi, as its editor. Mr. Amir Zia. We've got a very senior journalist, Mr. Zahid Malik, who retired as a joint secretary, the Ministry of Information. And now he's the editor-in-chief and publisher of the prestigious English newspaper, Pakistan Observer. He's also the publisher and editor-in-chief of Urdu daily Hurmat. Mr. Malik has authored over 2,000 articles and a dozen books. And he's also been conferred with the Sitare-e-Imtiaz in 2011. Mr. Zahid Malik. And last but not the least, Mr. Ashish Bagga, who's the Group CEO of India Today. He currently oversees the entire group's business across magazines, newspapers, broadcast TV, FM, radio, digital, education, e-com, distribution and retailing. Under his leadership, the group has grown has taken a quantum leap and has expanded its footprint and influence significantly. And Mr. Ashish Bagga is also a past president of the Indian Newspaper Society. Mr. Ashish Bagga, please.
All right, Tawqir, to set the ball rolling, I'm going to quote something which I've heard so many times over in India over conferences. There is this MC who always talks about the difference between complete and finish. Do you know the difference between complete and finish?
I will learn.
Oh, all right, so you will. Incidentally, there was a linguist, I did a little Google research on this, and there's a linguistic conference which had happened wherein this question was posed as to what is the difference, and the closest explanation that was by a Guyanese gentleman who said that, if you find the right person in your life and you get settled, you get married, you're complete. Well, if that person turns out to be wrong, then you're finished. And then if the right person catches you with the wrong one, you're completely finished. All right, on that note, let's set the ball rolling and let's figure out from each of you. Arif, aap bataएं कि is there really a divorce between editorial policies and marketing realities? in the publication that you are in?
Theoretically speaking, this is how it should be, that the editorial policies should be completely divorced from commercial interests.
And practically?
And practically, the thing is very different. With the advent of time, commercial interests have somehow overtaking the editorial policies of newspapers. The role of editor in a newspaper, in a print media, is diminishing. He is now uh, dictated by the marketing department. Uh, he is briefed by the number crunchers, by focus groups, uh, surveys, etc. Even there was mention here earlier on that start hiring copywriters for headlines. So the role of the editor is becoming more and more, I would say, in certain ways, obsolete. The old-fashioned editor is dying. I know certain newspaper groups which don't even have editors.
Really? Amir, what would you want to say to that?
Theoretically speaking. But they are, sorry to say, non-entities, not of how editors should be.
So how does it work in the news, Karachi, Amir?
No, Arif Saab has a point, but I'm not going to say that this is the case overall. In certain newspapers and media organizations, we have editors and functioning editors. And at the same time, I mean, usually the trend is that if from the old days, what I have seen in the newsroom, that journalists mostly see there's a hostile relationship with the marketing. We always see, most of our senior colleagues, they used to see that marketing is coming and trying to hog our space which is meant for news. But I would say that that relationship and that the way we see things, it should change now. And there should be synergy between the marketing and the editorial teams. It's not that the marketing start dictating their terms. I mean, at least in our paper, the news, let's talk about the Jung Group as well. We have paid the price for our independent editorial policy. We have seen that government has banned our ads, and not just for few months, but for years and years. We have seen that we have stood up against and paid the price.
Right.
Before that, under Nawaz Sharif, again, we were victimized as a
Right.
group. So it's not that every group is doing that. And I'll say that there are some very shining examples
Right.
where the editors and the newspapers, they have stood up against commercial interests.
Is it only the government you see as a client, or the commercial advertisers also? You see, there is a slight difference when the government says they are talking to you about writing good things about the government, whereas the advertiser wants to write perhaps new things about their products. So is there something that you see there?
Again, the thing is that if there is a news value to it, I mean, I'm not averse to if there's a new product and people are interested and we can get some news angle to that. So certainly we should publish that news, not as a promo.
What do you mean by promo?
A promo means that, I mean, someone sends you a press release and without investigating, without checking your facts, you publish it. No, it's not like that. But if you do some...
But if the facts are right, then...
If the facts are right and you think that there's some newsworthiness, so of course, why not? I mean, for business pages especially. I mean, this is a challenge which we face almost daily. Again, if you see in the global media and how business and financial journalism is done, it is not always negative. It is always telling the success story. It is always celebrating success. So why not this is happening in Pakistan? It is started
Sometimes,
but not that much.
Malik Sahab, question to you. Sometimes what happens is a lot of newspapers publish news items which are really not so relevant to the readers in, say, Pakistan or India. They publish a news item about Seychelles, but they won't publish a news item about a product or something like that. Is that a turf war going on with the marketing and editorial? Do you see that there's some animosity? Amir used the word hostile. Do you see that?
I would tend to agree with my young panelist on my right side. That situation is not that bad as it has been painted. But before that, I would like to very briefly pay my compliments to the organizer of this event and to both of you as well
Shukriya.
for hosting this a wonderful event which is very vibrant, very action-packed, and I would say very thrilling. And I can see the spirit of James Bond all around here.
Lee, thank
Yes.
you so much for the appreciation.
And I would also say that if all the delegates tend to select a person as the James Bond of the print media of the subcontinent, my vote will be for Mr. Hamid Haroon.
Thank you, Mr. Harun.
Now coming back to the question, I think it is Mr. Arif Nizami is right that we are under tremendous pressure, what is called markets pressure, and most of the papers are being driven by the market realities, and we are not in that age as it used to be in the past, meaning thereby I'm talking about a few decades back when the journalism used to be a sort of a mission, and particularly our vernacular press during the British Raj, as you know, they were reformers. People like Ramu Rai and Sir Sayyid, they were reformers. Now it has become an industry. I mean, previously the papers used to be launched by working journalists, but now the real estate developers, the owners of the gas stations and the big business houses and tycoons, they have jumped in the arena.
Ji Malik Sahab.
So situation is somewhat changed. My point is that it is true that we are under pressure from our business teams, and they tend to assert a lot, but we have to assert. We have to resist, I mean. And we have to contribute a little bit in maintaining the independence, which is the very cherished independence of our sacred profession. I am a bit optimistic that if we, I mean the publishers and the editors, are cognizant of the fact that we are the owners and not the business team, then situation can improve a lot.
Right. Ji Malik sir. Mr. Bagga, I'd like to ask you at this point in time, you of course are handling the digital and the print, the publication and television as well. So you would have to face a lot of the market pressures, and how do you handle that?
I run a couple of news platforms which are integral to our group's strength. We run the largest news television channels, Aaj Tak, Headlines Today. India Today, as a news weekly, is India's largest selling news magazine and is published in 4 Indian languages besides an international edition. And we also have a very successful young newspaper called Mail Today. So we are very dynamic and we are at the forefront of news. And when you are at the forefront of news, you are in the public eye, you are in the public glare. But what we have chosen to do, and which we do very, very enthusiastically with a lot of passion, is that we are a editorial first company. Nothing will come in the way of our editorial position. We are fiercely independent. We favor no one. We fear no one. And that has been the hallmark of our journalism. This transcends across all news platforms, be it television, newspaper, magazines, English, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, regardless. And this unwavering, unflinching commitment to quality journalism, to credible journalism, to fearless journalism is what has made us the number one, has kept us the number one for the last 37 years for the News Weekly. When we entered the news television space, there were already 4 or 5 very dominant news channels. Within a month, within 12 months of our launch of Aaj Tak, we became the number one in the news television channel, and Headlines Today followed. So we're very proud of that commitment. It comes right from the top. I am the CEO of the group, and if I have to rule on any pressures, the first ruling will be in favor of editorial. I'm not saying we don't go wrong, but when we do go wrong, we are the first ones to admit our mistakes openly and very critically to our own issues, and we use that to correct ourselves.
But does that mean you don't accommodate advertisers or innovation like
Mr. Ravi Dhariwal mentioned yesterday.
Yesterday he mentioned about Times of India Group, you know, accommodating a lot of new innovative ideas.
Listen, I see no harm in innovation, right? We were the first ones to introduce innovation of fragrances, of double gatefolds, of belly bands on a magazine. But that in no way is going to compromise my editorial position. It in no way is going to push the priority of editorial. If the editorial has, if there's a story which deserves page one full attention, and if there's an advertisement sitting there in a pretty large format, the advertisement is either postponed or dropped.
So, Mr. Bagga, are you saying that there are no pressures whatsoever in terms of reaching the numbers that you have to reach despite all?
Yeah, there are pressures, but we handle those pressures. Like as Ravi mentioned, we are also one of the targeted victims of sorts of a large industrial group in India. We broke a pretty sensational story which involved them. Their advertising outlays were very significant to our group across print, television, and digital, and even events. And they didn't like what we wrote, so, or what we carried in our news channels. So they have boycotted us. They have stopped giving us advertising. It is important for us to carry their advertising because they make some very, very good products. They are a very iconic industrial empire in India. It's sad that they have even stopped their people talking to our journalists, and likewise for some other media groups, including the Times of India. But according to me, it is to their detriment. If two very large, prominent media groups like the Times of India and the India Today group, and between the two of us, we are probably amongst the largest in the country, don't carry your advertising, don't carry, you know, news items, analysis, comment, interviews of this group's happenings, new products, services, financial performance, what have you. We also publish India's largest business magazine, Business Today. And if you are absent, then it is going to only hurt you. You know, for us, we'll get a new crop of advertisers. Over a period, year one, we'll take a hit. Year two, we recalibrate our budgets. So we are okay. I mean,
Right.
heavens are not falling as far as we are concerned. But the day we compromise, the day we succumb to that pressure, we are finished. And that will never happen.
To reverse the situation, I'll ask you, Mr. Nizami, in case there have been situations, and I'm aware of in India also back home, that you know, the marketing team, the sales team goes out to garner revenues and all of that, and there is a particular, say, for example, an event, and they're supposed to sponsor, and they refuse to sponsor that event that you're probably doing, and then you refuse to write about them. Is that something that also happens?
Pakistan is rather different from India, and I don't know what is the situation in India. But in Pakistan, the government is the biggest advertiser. And the marketing pressure from the marketing team is only manifested by the government through the marketing team, and sometimes on the editors themselves, but in fact mostly. Then the institution of editors, as early said, although I myself is one of those, the owner editors, which means the commercial interests and the editorial interests are sort of merge into one. So there are situations where the newspapers have taken a lot of pressure, and in Pakistan it's more commendable, as he said, I am on the same side, that despite the pressures, there have been the media group I was also associated with previously, we had to withstand a lot of pressures. Uh, any newspaper in Pakistan in the past, right now in Pakistan, I think it is the most benign government vis-a-vis putting any pressure, any commercial pressures. But the other pressure is from the commercial groups also. Commercial groups in Pakistan openly say that if we are giving, like for example, mobile telephones, if you say that people are not satisfied with the service, sometimes stop their advertising. And similarly, there are other institutions, people who are very big in the land business. Uh, if, even it works in this way that if the editor accepts an ad which is detrimental to the interests of so and so group, business group, he is in danger of losing that business.
That brings me to another question. Should there be owner editors? Because that can, I am also an owner editor, but I'm just asking that question. Should there be owner editors, because that compromises editorial independence with the marketing realities and the marketing voice? You know,
theoretically speaking, no. I think if you seriously ask me,
there should be a demarcation there clearly.
The professional job of an editor should be totally independent of the marketing. That is, but we are not living in an ideal world. It doesn't happen that way. And I think the relationship between the editorial department and the marketing department should be adversarial.
Amit, what would you have to say?
Practically speaking, just to finish, sometimes it is the owner editors who know the financial stake and they can take a stand against a government or a business group.
Amit, what is your point of view? Should owners be editors-in-chief or not?
Supporting Mr. Nizami's point of view, ideally, yes, no. It's a 24/7 job. It's a job of professional journalists. Commercial interest and editorial interest, sometimes they collide. So it's better that that kind of demarcation stays there.
But we have seen sometimes, not always, sometimes professional journalists who become editors, then they go on an ego trip because they don't really realize the market realities and the state of the newspaper itself sometimes.
The issue is that the relationship between marketing and editorial should not be of adversity. I would say that the kind of challenges we are facing today in the 21st century, especially the print media, everybody's talking about the surge of internet use. Everybody's saying that in the age of 24/7 news where TV channels are breaking every story. So we have to work together and we have to develop products. When I say in a traditional news environment that treat news as a commodity, so eyebrows will be raised on that. But that's all we have to do. It is not just the relationship between marketing and editorial regarding advertisement. It is also about the kind of news you are giving and what kind of packaging you will do for that. I think the kind of challenges we face, we have to be innovative, and the 21st century, 20th century paradigm in which there was clear demarcation and there was a sort of hostility, as I had said, that needs to change now. Because what we see is that, I visited a couple of educational institutions last week and found out that all the youngsters, they are approaching newspaper on the internet. So maybe in Pakistan, at least on the English language newspapers, the impact is not there. in terms of decline in readership, but it is going to hurt us in future, and that future is not very in distant. It can
Right.
come very close.
Right. Malik Saab, you've been in the business for the longest time, and so I want to understand from you, most organizations project themselves or are either commercial products or brands. Which ones have you come across the most? Are they commercial products or are they brands?
No, first of all, I would like to say that when we are talking in terms of pressures on the newspapers or the owners of the newspaper, we have come a long way in the sense that the problem is we usually perceive independence in terms of the government. Gone are the days when government used to be sort of having a leverage so far as the press is concerned. But in the due course of time and after a lot of sacrifices, now the government is no more in a position to dictate its terms. Pakistani media on the whole have sacrificed a lot, and we have waged a lot of struggle. And incidentally, we have a pro-freedom judiciary, so the media is quite comfortable so far as the government is concerned. Now, there is only one pressure, and that's that of the market. Market dictates and market realities. I think the newspaper owners and the editors have to take a stand, because it is not a profession like running a gas station or owning a cement agency, you see. We are in a business where we have to take into consideration a number of things, you see. So, meaning thereby that a line has to be demarcated, and we have to take a stand against all sorts of pressure, and we have to sacrifice a little bit for the greater good of the profession. You see, it is not only question of A or B newspaper, it is the question of the image of profession of journalism itself, because the image of the journalism is a little bit eroding, you see. So, meaning thereby that our associations or we as individual owners or editors have to take a position and reposition ourselves and re-energize ourselves to withstand all these rising pressures.
Right. Mr. Bagga, so is the India Today group a brand influencing policymakers, or is it a commercial product expanding itself, experimenting with new vistas, and of course becoming a bigger and larger entity year after year?
I don't see much distinction between the two points you made. Yes, we are a brand, that's for sure. We are a brand which is known for its editorial integrity. We are a brand which has touch points across different media platforms. We do events, we do music, we do digital, we run a retail chain in India basically to sell newspapers and magazines. So we do a lot of other things besides, of course, the core editorial products that we put out and which we invest in on a regular basis. But let's not forget, at the end of the day, we are in business. We are here to expand our customer base. We are here to expand our media influence, and we are here to bring and introduce more and more new credible products and brands, thereby building the overall India Today group brand to discerning consumers and Indians, not only within India, but to a large part of the population, the Indian population living outside India.
So let me rephrase it. Commercial brand first or a brand first?
Brand.
Okay. I was just thinking, would you as an editor take a paid advertisement for a political message at public cost?
You see, first of all, I was a little bit surprised. In fact, I would have asked Mr. Bagga to sort of educate me on this, that in Indian newspapers, some of the leading newspapers, there are certain things called advertorials, which means that you print editorials of business interests, and as compensation you get free stock. Secondly, there are instances in Indian newspapers where full page speeches of politicians or their advertisement, especially during the elections, have been been printed without even indicating that that is.
A paid advertisement or an advertisement.
Now coming to your
What
question.
is the message? Yeah.
Coming to your question. The problem with the newspaper industry, as in all over the world and in Pakistan also, that newspapers in terms of revenues are struggling. Even the big newspapers are struggling. So the result is they are desperate for revenues. And as I was saying, some of the editors don't look at the missing news items or whether they are getting any, either reporters are doing any scoops. They are measuring the number of advertisements in that. So as an owner editor, I'll be honest with you that if I'm getting an advertisement through the government full page and it's indicated as advertisement, I'll print it.
Paid for by public money.
And Mr. Bagga had a point of view on that, I guess. You wanted to make a point?
Yes, I have been the president of the Indian Newspaper Society, which is the counterpart of the association here. And all the large newspapers, medium newspapers, small newspapers are our members. We have more than 900 members.
More than, sorry?
900 members. And I've been an office bearer in that association for the last, I've been associated for the last 20 years, office bearer for the last 4 years. Now, the point that has been made about, there are 2 points that were made. One was about advertorial, and the other one was about an ad masquerading as editorial. Now, there is a distinction between the two, so I will take the first one first, which is the advertorial. Now, when responsible publishers and media owners carry advertorials, they call it, they brand it as an advertorial, which means they say very clearly on the page that this is a paid ad. Some organizations such as ours, we even go to the extent to make sure that the font, the page layout, if it's a full page, the font, the page layout, the design is very different from the normal ones that we template and carry as our own editorial pages. But the advertisers are very smart. The agencies are very smart, because if they believe that if they construct something like that, which is very close to our design, page design, the viewer or the reader will get fooled to assume that it is editorial. So whenever there is a doubt on such an ad that comes, the first thing we do is to run it past the editorial department through the managing editor. If he has an objection, it is withheld. If he says okay to go, then very prominently we carry that this is either an impact feature, a response feature, or a paid advertorial. That is our group's ethic. What happens in some cases, there is a compromise being made under pressure from the advertisers where it goes without the legend that it is an advertorial. Now, if that happens, I call it completely irresponsible publishing management. The editors have let it go. The pressure from the commercial side has outweighed the group's editorial policy, and I shun such practice. And this is something we have made known very clearly and categorically even in the Indian Newspaper Society in all our board meetings. So, advertorial, not bad as long as it isn't masquerading as editorial and it is identified, titled that it is a paid ad. I see no harm in that at all.
So the
right?
Indian Newspaper Society has a policy
Yes.
on this.
Yes.
Sir, my only
An
question
official
was,
policy.
I'm coming to the second point.
No,
Yeah.
the first one.
Ji.
That as compensation, you are giving stocks of those companies?
The answer is no. My company doesn't, but then you raise a third point. I'll come to that. I'll come to that point as well. So now there's a third point on the table. The second point was the politician's profile speech just before an election carried as a full page. The viewer gets fooled that the brand of the newspaper is praising this politician. Obviously, the politician is paying for it, or is the compensation is happening in some other form. But the viewer, the reader gets fooled that that newspaper brand is endorsing that politician and therefore he should vote for that politician. That is completely unethical. It's a malpractice. In fact, we have actually hauled up many such newspaper brands And we have told them that it is an incorrect practice and they should stop forthwith. It has also come up in the press council, it's also come up in the editors guild, and this issue has been addressed. It is totally unacceptable, unethical, irresponsible trade practice. So that's, I'm not saying we are all above board, and there are certain organizations which indulge in these malpractices, but as a community, and therefore associations like ours, like yours, are here today to check people who are involving and indulging
What
in.
does the INS do in a case where this policy is not followed?
We bring it up in our executive committee meeting, and we actually warn the publication involved. We seek their views as to why it happened, and we tell them that, you know,
Malik Sahab, your
If
opinion
I
on
may
this?
say, I think the same is the practice by and large in Pakistan. Most of the newspaper, they mention quite in bold type advertisement or supplement or something
Or
like
advertisement.
that. I have seen in many newspaper, except of course if you carry an interview of a politician or a special report which is the coverage of a particular public meeting of a political party, of a political leader, that is a separate case. But by and large in Pakistan too, the same practice is in vogue, meaning thereby I cannot recall a paper publishing a full page of an interview of of a leader saying it is something on his own. This is, I think, by and large practice, and this is how it should be. That a newspaper cannot promote the cause of a particular, except in the editorial.
Amir, what is your viewpoint on this as far as editorials go?
I mean, as Nizami Sahib has said and Mr. Zahid Sahib has said, the thing is that we have very clear laid down procedures. If it's an editorial, that is marked. So, I mean, almost daily or every second day we get this kind of stuff. But it is never mixed up with the actual newspaper. There's a clear demarcation, and readers know it, the editorial staff knows it. So, I mean, it's not a big issue, at least for our group.
Right. Okay, yesterday Mr. Dhariwal made a comment saying that we let our editors be. And the only standing instruction is that when we ask you to do something, you don't say no. Mr. Bagga, how is it in your group?
As I already mentioned, we are an editorial first company, so our editors decide what goes into the newspapers, into the TV channels, and into the magazines that we produce, and now even digital. So I'm afraid, but the marketing department or the advertising department plays second fiddle. Having said that, there was in one of the discussions, it was mentioned consumer insights, readership profile. I think that is where it is a very symbiotic role that marketing and editorial play together. The marketing department, along with the editorial, in fact, we make sure our editors, the key ones, sit in the focus group discussions behind the scenes. They watch what's happening on camera, and together we evolve what could be going right or wrong with our brands. So it is a very close symbiotic relationship. Now, when we want to, let's say we think that the watch industry in India is growing, in watch brands is growing, you know, a lot of aspirational aspects to watches in India or to luxury cars, and we want to bring out, let's say, a supplement, right? So then the marketing department goes to the editorial and tells them, listen, we want to do a quarterly supplement to go with the newspaper, but it's got to be nice, rich, fancy, you know, quality, luxury, you know, 200 pages, 100 GSM paper, art paper, and what have you. Can you do it for us? Because the marketing department is prohibited to go to any outside kitchen for developing an editorial brand or product. They have to go back to the kitchen. Now the editor will look into his kitchen to see if he can rustle up that kind of a product. If he can, with the existing resource, good. If he can't, he is free to hire. There's a business plan, he hires as per the business plan, and within 3 months or 6 months, whatever the time frame, he produces that for the marketing department. But he does not get influenced by the marketing department in terms of what goes into. So if Rolex is launching a new watch, it is his call whether he wants to put Rolex on the cover or he puts Cartier on the cover. the marketing department, even if Rolex has taken 20 pages in that supplement, that has no role to play in the editorial discretion of preparing that brand or that magazine. So that is the role.
Point taken, sir. Yesterday, Mr. Ravi Dhariwal also mentioned what drives their group is the readers, not the editors. The readers drive the editorial content for the India Today, the Times of India group. Would you agree with that? Should the readers be driving that, or should the editors be driving that?
I think
What people want to read.
I think the editor should be driving force here. Of course, you have to take the mind of the readers as well. But for example, a newspaper has a policy which is anti-Taliban in Pakistan's context. And the public opinion surveys say that in Pakistan, the majority of the readers or of a profile, or Gallup poll, for example, supports these fundamentalists and Taliban. Or let's say even more specifically, like the whole problem is because of drone attacks for Americans. But I think the reader, it's a job of the editor and the newspaper to say what is right, publish and be damned, as they say in the old days, and say the right thing. And it should, I wouldn't use the word leadership, it should be really analyzing issues according to a newspaper's own policy. If a newspaper doesn't have a policy, then it's fine. But like there are papers which don't have policies.
And they're just products.
And just?
They are just products.
They're just products.
Yeah.
We should be willing to say what we think is the truth, analyze it honestly, willing to suffer for it.
Right, I think on a... जी जरूर मलिक साहब आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे?
Special, but I think what Mr. Ravi said yesterday was that Pakistani papers are by and large statement-oriented products. We give a lot of space to these statements churned out by the leaders. And what Mr. Ravi meant was, so far as I could comprehend, that we should keep our reader in view, meaning thereby that since they buy our newspaper and they have their own preferences, so we should give due consideration to the wishes, to their likings and disliking. Instead of, in Pakistan, it is a culture, we keep in view what the government would appreciate, what the government will not appreciate, something like that. I think advice was very pertinent, and at least I was impressed, and I felt that there is a need in Pakistani media to be readers oriented, because we thrust a lot of loaded statements on our readers, and the statements and cliches of the politicians and hackneyed statements are given banner treatments, something like that. So I agree with the essence of Mr. Ravi's advice.
I like to give my take on this, that in fact newspapers should reflect the diversity of ideas. They are not meant to be a propaganda tools for just one sort of opinion. And when I say diversity of ideas, I mean, yes, if there's a version that we have to go for anti-Taliban posture, yes, we should take that, and that sentiment should be reflected. But at the same time, if there are elements who wish to give other side of the picture, I'm just coming to that. So, I mean, yes, on the news side, it should reflect diversity of ideas. Even on the op-ed pages, it should not be just one-sided people who are writing, if they're liberals and all your editorial pages are devoted to them. I mean, they should also reflect the right way.
Diverse opinions.
The diversity of opinion is a must. We should not treat newspapers or forwarding one sort of ideology or one sort of a political stand. I mean, that's our view, and I think the young group, I mean, the kind of position we take, our pages reflect that sentiment, that we cater to the broad spectrum of views, and we have got people who are liberal, who are on the right side, who are rightist, who are leftist. So, I mean, for everyone our pages are open. So, I mean, that is the policy.
Right. So I guess if...
I want to clarify something. I think you misunderstood what I said was, whenever I say editorial, I mean the editorial itself. I print all kind of diverse opinions in my paper, right wing, left wing. But sometimes I don't print some of, like talking about young and news, the editors printing front page opinions about whatever they feel. That sorry, I disagree. Another point which I wanted to make was because of the television, the competition from television, it's an age of dumbing down of newspapers all over the world, including Pakistan. And less in Pakistan though, where newspapers are putting more color, more glamour, and less analysis. Like I have seen Times of India sort of evolving from a newspaper to a brand.
Right. So I guess we'll wrap up this session, and the conclusion, actually there can't be any conclusion, but what we'd like to actually believe is that if you do have a strong editorial product, really the marketing realities will not influence you. Thank you so much, Mr. Bagga. Thank you, Malik Saab. Thank you, Amir. Thank you, Arif Nizami Saab.
I would like to acknowledge the panelists. May I invite Dr. Tanveer Tahir, Executive Director, APNS, to please come on the stage and present to Mr. Ashish Bagga.
If I may invite Mr. Dr. Tanveer Tahir, Executive Director, All Pakistan Newspaper Society. Mr. Mehtab Abbasi, Senior Vice President, All Pakistan Newspaper Society and publisher of Asaf, for Mr. Arif Nizami. Mr. Munir Jilani, Publisher Pagham, to give the memento to Mr. Amir Zia. Mr. Mumtaz Tahir, Publisher of Daily Aftab Multan, to give the memento to Mr. Zahid Malik. The lady is included for something else, my friend. Sir, too late. Finally, we need to join our hands to say thanks